We are live, and someone just thumbs up. So great.
Thing. Is that on YouTube or Facebook?
I don't know. It doesn't tell me. It just
Awesome.
shows me oh, YouTube. Two thumbs
Awesome.
up on YouTube.
Awesome. Hey, better than none at all, I guess.
Does
Well,
YouTube still have thumbs down or no? Did they get rid of it?
I think they disabled the thumbs down because it probably was offending too many people. Actually, and I could be wrong on this, I think they disabled the dislike because some of the left-wing media reporting sites were getting so many thumbs down that they couldn't censor that aspect of YouTube. So
I remember that now. Yep, that's exactly what happened.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's just something that they weren't able to control. But whatever, it's fine. Well, it is Thursday again. Unbelievably, I cannot even believe how fast this week has gone. But we do have some interesting things to talk about tonight. So I am Samantha of Outspoken Samantha, and this is Joe Mobley. And we are going to get into some things talking about our girl Riley Gaines, talking about Mitch McConnell appearing to have another stroke on live TV.
Poor guy.
I know, I
Uh,
know. We got to talk about what's going on with the Maui fires and more conversations about this transgender issue because it just is never going to go away. So. So what
I
should
I
we?
think eventually I believe that the rise of the alphabet soup, I think it's a fad because I believe, is it Abigail Shrier who said, I believe the psychologist who says that this is a social contagion, just
Mhm.
like cutting was, just like anorexia, bulimia was. So it sucks, but it is. I think it's gonna run its course. Something else will become the new thing, and then we'll still see LGB, but all of the other stuff will
Mhm.
become super unlikely. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think, I hope too, but
Well,
yeah,
yeah. And I mean, I agree with that. I think at some point it does have to go away. I mean, it feels like it's never going to, but it does have to because it is getting so extreme where so many people are like, wait, what is going on? Like people, are kids are identifying as cats. I read an article the other day about kids identifying as minotaurs where they're one gender on top and one gender on the bottom, or one gender in the front and one gender in the back. And I'm like, people are starting to get the idea that this is just, there's no end in sight until we end it. So
that
when
was
it does,
some kid who just learned what a mullet was, and they were like, I want to do that with my gender.
exactly, that's
Wow.
exactly what I thought of. But
Wow.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to get to the point where it's just too crazy for far too many people, and then it'll fizzle out, and then the left will have to use something else to create another victim group. So,
I This gives me a warm fuzzy about us getting closer to that time. The boldest comedians have started making fun of that holiest of protected classes, the alphabet people. Dave Chappelle has started telling jokes specifically about trans, and kind of how crazy it is. Andrew Schultz, Louis C.K., like some heavy hitting top tier comedians. What's that guy's name? He's like a white dude. He's always like yelling. He's kind of got like really short reddish hair. Sounds like I'm describing Louis C.K., but not him. Um, but he's the one who he tells the joke about abortion being murder, and he says it's like, if I've got my flour and vanilla and milk and butter in a bowl and I'm mixing it and I'm going to put it in the oven and you come and smack it out of my hand and I'm like, hey, you destroyed my cake. And he says, it was potentially a cake. It wasn't a cake. He said, but I was going to put it in the oven and it was going to become a cake. And he said, so I didn't do anything. He said,
Right.
he tells the joke about that. I can't think of his freaking name. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think
I don't.
because comedians are starting to tell really honest and no nonsense jokes about the LGBTQ community, I think it means it's starting to run its course. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate how many casualties there will be in the process, but
yeah.
at least we're getting there. So we'll
You
see.
you never toot your own horn on your show, but for this specific thing, if you guys aren't subscribed to Samantha's like normal YouTube channel, just watching the videos that come out through the week, um, I watch almost all of them because you have the most up to date and interesting kind of hot takes on this specific thing with female sports, with the stuff happening in and around classrooms and school administrators on this specific issue. Tons of good content. So yeah, you never tell people to like, share, and subscribe. Those are the money
Go make
words.
sure you subscribe, guys.
I was just watching the video that you released today. I watched it like an hour ago. It's just, it's never ending with these freaking whack jobs.
The
Anyway,
mom and 7-year-old taking her kid to the pool.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Um, yeah, you guys need to go check that out. The mom was asking for advice on how to appropriately dress her 7-year-old son as a girl and make their private areas look more feminine. And she
yeah.
was asking for advice on tucking. It's
A
so
little
many
bit
things
of a
that I,
longer video, but still really good.
yeah, well, and it's just so many things that I'm like, I don't know that I will ever not be surprised that we have to talk about these things. I'm just blown away. And she's calling everybody a Karen for disagreeing with her. And I'm like,
Yeah,
anyway, so yes, I appreciate it. I know it's an issue that I talk about a lot, but I have a lot of concerns about the casualties, like I said, that are going to be left in the wake of this disaster once it does go away. So,
yeah,
and unfortunately, those casualties are going to be children, which
yep,
is unbelievable. But well, in that same vein, you did share a video of Riley Gaines that you wanted to touch on today. And I mean, I love Riley Gaines. I love everything that she's doing. She is, I'm sure everybody knows who she is at this point, but she is, out there protecting women's sports, trying to keep Title IX in place as it was already written and not allowing it to be changed where, men who want to call themselves women are protected in women's sports simply by having this specific gender identity, which is the verbiage that they're trying to put into Title IX, which would essentially eliminate the opportunity for women to keep these guys out of their sport if Title IX is changed in that way. So she's out there doing her thing. I feel like more women are joining the cause, and we've got Paula Scanlon, we have Macy Petty, so they're all kind of doing this work. But I thought it was a particularly interesting video, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it.
well, let's play it.
Okay.
Asking us to smile and step aside and
Oh, I think I need to start it over.
asking us to smile and step
Oh,
aside
that's
and
it.
allow this man onto our podiums, taking our spots in the pool, taking our scholarships, our opportunities, our trophies, our titles. You're asking us to lie, asking us to not feel that innate, inherent feeling, need really to cover yourself when a man walks into your locker room and starts undressing. That's asking us to lie. And I was done waiting for someone else to speak up for us. I was waiting for a coach. I was waiting for some other swimmer. I was waiting for someone within the NCAA, a parent, someone with political power, someone who was supposed to be protecting us to protect us. And then it hit me in that moment on the podium. I swear I remember it. It hit me. If we aren't willing to stick up for this ourselves, we as women, we as female athletes, if we're not willing to stick up for this ourselves, we can't expect someone else to stick up for us. This has to come from us.
So, am I going first or?
Go ahead.
Obviously, I love Riley Gaines. I think she's super courageous. I have nothing but respect for her for all of the bucking of the system that she did, because if you guys remember, she was basically the first and for the long time the only prominent athlete to actually rail against this nonsense publicly, in, not just at the school, but in the media and doing speaking engagements for the Leadership Foundation like this, or Young Americans Foundation, and all that stuff. Like, she's doing it for sure. But I think a part of this where she's missing the boat, and maybe in all honesty, she probably understands this. She's just, the point of her speech to this audience is different. But when society gets to a place where the group that's being victimized is the only hope for themselves. So, and I hate to do this, but it's just the most poignant example. The Holocaust is occurring, and the Nazis they're killing Jews, gays, gypsies, like two other groups. Those groups knew it was wrong. They knew it was bad. Some of them stood up the best that they could, but it wasn't incumbent upon them, the people who were actually being oppressed. I know this language is kind of wonky because we've changed what oppressor means and victim and all that stuff, but the people who were truly being victimized weren't the ones to have to say this is wrong and do something about it. It needs to be the rest of society. So we are screwed. We are screwed if men don't defend women, if adults and particularly parents don't defend children, if people who have power and resources and know-how don't defend people who don't have power or resources or know-how, education, what have you, then we're screwed. The society doesn't last. That's not lasted anywhere on earth in the history of the world. And if we look at each other and say, you have to fend for yourself, and this is like natural law. No matter what you believe, she talks about that thing in the locker room when I'm a guy, if a woman walked into the restroom, if a woman walked into the bathroom, I have that innate thing that says, cover yourself. And it's not a fear shame thing. It's that's like in our brains. That's like in our, it's essence of being human.
Yep.
Or like when you see a wild animal, like when I was sitting at the park and there was a freaking mountain lion, things start going on in your brain. Like, okay, this is a serious situation here. It could go a lot of different ways. I can only imagine what it feels like to be a teenage woman or younger, and a dude walks in to your private changing area. If adults in mass don't say that's wrong, we are effed big time. So kudos to her, but post your polarizing point of view. It's a good social media thing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think when I first heard her, because I had heard this speech before, I don't know that she meant that, they've got to stand up for themselves first before anybody else will stand up for them. I'm not sure that's entirely the direction she was going with it, but I completely agree that, historically, how many other things have been accomplished because you had this unified group come together because something was just the right thing to do, not because you were waiting for the person that was being harmed by it to take that first step. So, and a lot of times, as you said, with children, you can't expect them to take the first step. It is our responsibility to step in and protect them first. I think her comments, because I've had this thought too, were more directed towards, when are these women going to stand up? Because for the longest time, she was the only one that was really being vocal about this. And she called out people like Serena and Venus Williams, and she called out numerous other prominent athletes, female athletes, to join her in this fight, and they were radio silent on this. I think she
Yep.
tagged Simone Biles. And, so I understand what she's saying. But I agree, it shouldn't be waiting for us to do it. We should just be, as a community, saying this is what we need to do. But at the same time, like, why are all these girls not standing up for it? And a lot of time, and I think from the outside looking in, it can give people the idea that they don't really want it, or they don't really care, or it doesn't really matter that much. So why should they join this fight? Especially when going up against this group has so many risks associated with it. Like, people have to be willing to put their necks on the line. They could lose their job. They could be targeted and harassed. Like, this is not the easiest group to stand up against. So I think there's just a lot of different things that were kind of included in what she was saying, but I do completely agree. Like, we can't just wait for the person that is in the middle of it to do something before we say, okay, now I'll help you out.
Yeah, I think you make a really interesting point, which is probably exactly what she meant, is like just pleading with other athletes, like, hey, you guys got to be bold and courageous too. Like, I can't be out here by myself. Like, I'm the one female athlete in the world who has a problem with this.
Yeah.
That's probably I don't know who this audience is, but they're athletes freaking everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm still surprised because you can name on one hand the number of current athletes who speak out against this. It's like her. It's the girl from like, is it UPenn? It's like 2 swimmers and one track athlete.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even then, the ones that should be speaking out, like these Olympic athletes, these well-known girls like Simone Biles and Serena Williams, those are the voices that they need, but they're still relying on these lesser known athletes that they're making an impact. But these girls, I think, are really truly waiting for the ones that have a platform and a voice to stand up for them. And it's really disappointing that that hasn't happened yet.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even Serena Williams went on, I can't remember which late show it was, but she was talking about how another male tennis player had challenged her to a match, and she was like, no, because I'm not trying to be embarrassed. Like, I know that I'm good at my sport, but if I go up against this guy, he's going to, wipe the floor with me, essentially. Like, even she knows the differences and the, just the two almost different sports that men and women play, regardless of what it is. But yeah, it's really sad that she won't stand up. I mean, it's not going to harm her. It's not going to hurt her brand. So I don't get it, but.
Matthew Rupert says, ever notice all the conservative ladies are pretty and I think you want to say the others or the liberals are kind of, well, not. Yes, we have noticed that, Matthew. That is true.
I have said that so many times. Conservative women are prettier.
Yeah, 100%. That's why it was like back in the day, that like when I was in like college, it was Fox News babes. There's no equivalent. There's no like CNN, MSNBC news babes.
Right.
So
they've got what, like Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid.
oh my gosh. Oh no! If Rachel Maddow was like on account, like, and some of them, they're very professional and poised, and like you're like, oh, this is a beautiful woman. I can't remember her name. She left Fox. She has like a big show now. I can't think of her freaking name. Megyn Kelly, like Megyn Kelly. She's like a classically pretty woman. And I'm failing with names now. The last press secretary for
Haley McEnany.
Yeah, see, this is why we're a team. Yeah, they're like classically like pretty girls. But you look at the left side, it's like
Yeah. Like, who do y'all have?
Yeah, I don't know.
I have Rachel Levine.
Oh no. And then when there is like a pretty liberal woman, she
Mhm.
kind of starts going off to the right, like the congresswoman from Hawaii. Names are just,
Tulsi Gabbard.
yes, Tulsi Gabbard. I can't think of a single name right now. I
Okay.
remember our names. That's all I need. All I need for this.
It's all good. Well, and
Yeah.
I honestly, and you may or may not agree with this, I think it's not just about like being physically attractive. I think there's something to be said for people that are grounded in truth, in morality, in doing what's right. Just having that, I mean, whether you are Christian or not, but having that inner light and that inner spirit of goodness. And I think that translates out to how people perceive you as being attractive, because you can be a physically attractive person. But if you are like venomous and hateful and angry all the time, it just, it's almost like you don't see their physical features. All you see is like all of the hostility that just emulates out of every pore.
Yeah. And they don't have a respect or reverence for life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Blah. All right. No, that not true. Rachel Levine, super hot. Oh. All right. Well, on that note,
Awesome.
so it's happened again. Uh I mean, I guess we just watch it. If you missed the first time this happened, we talk about these kinds of issues in our government a lot. That, some people, the lights are on, but there's nobody home, type of deal. Um, but yeah, this is Mitch McConnell, who's held one of the highest offices in our Congress for like on and off for like the last 12 years. Anyway, here he is, old Mitchy.
Thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
He's supposed to be answering a question right now.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator.
So the camera's gonna pan out, and you can see he's like grasping onto the podium.
Yeah.
He says he's okay. He's clearly not.
Somebody
Yeah.
else have a question? Please speak up.
what are my thoughts about what?
Yeah, so she's got to pretend like the problem was the volume. He didn't hear or understand the question.
Well, there's a good chance he didn't understand the question, but this is the second time this has happened in less than a month. I mean, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago that he froze up the first time.
Yep. So it's clear to anyone who's paying attention that so many people in the government have ailments, medical issues, what have you, that would probably preclude them from holding the office that they're in. But here's what's also clear. The government lies about it. So, no sooner than this came out, Capitol Doctor says, this is the Epic Times reporting, the Capitol Doctor says that Senator McConnell is good to go. Nothing to worry about. Don't worry about his pressed lips, his grasping the podium. It kind of looks like, if you've ever had a head rush and you kind of feel like you're going to like pass out, it kind of looks like that. I don't know. I don't think he's having a stroke. He could be, who knows? Because a lot of strokes don't look like, the stroke acronym that everyone learns, but or the FAST acronym that everyone learns for strokes. But clearly something's wrong, and we're trying to keep up this image, so no one's helping him. No one's saying, hey, let's sit you down. Let's get someone here to check you out while this thing is going on. But instead, we get this kind of Hunger Games, emperors wearing no clothes. Like, everyone can see that something's wrong. And we know historically that this has happened. United States presidents in the past have had serious medical issues, and we just lie about it. We just cover it up because they want to keep up this image. But you see stuff like this, and you guys, your guy, Joe Biden, your guy, Fetterman, apparently our guy, because some people still vote for him, Mitch McConnell, clearly have issues, but we can't talk about it.
Right, right. And I mean, you kind of have to wonder, I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on why they'd be so determined to have people in office that are essentially just walking vegetables. I mean, I guess they're easier to control. All they need is people that are essentially able to sign their name. I just, maybe I haven't had this thought so much as with Mitch McConnell as I have with Fetterman and Biden, but it's probably the same thing. I have a big issue with their spouses. Like, if that were my husband, I would be like, he can't do this anymore. Like, this is not good for his health. He needs to be resting. You know, we're going to have to like resign or find someone to take his place, because this is, you know, ultimately your first concern should be their health as their spouse. And clearly John Fetterman's wife doesn't care, because when he was admitted to the hospital, she took a trip to Canada. And then, you know, clearly Jill Biden doesn't care. I mean, I think that she's probably as horrendous of a person as Joe Biden is, and she's in it for the power and the money and the attention and everything else that comes with it. So I don't get it. But what I also don't understand is how our standards have gotten so low for the people that we put in these positions. I mean, we're talking about our security being at risk. We're talking about people that are supposed to be making decisions that are good for the communities that they represent. And if they're going to make decisions that are good for those communities, they have to know what's going on in them. They have to be able to communicate with those people. They have to, you know, understand the issues that are important to them. And they're not able to do that because, I mean, the lights go out mid-conversation. So it's just unbelievable. And it just blows my mind that people aren't expecting more, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, you said communicate with the people you're representing. Just communicate with anyone. Communicate with the dog or a child. Fetterman can't wear a suit. He can't hold a conversation. And Biden, I was just listening to someone talk about Biden's behavior, and this person had worked as an orderly or something in an inpatient long-term dementia care facility, and they were talking about this thing. It's like babies have like witching hour. Well, apparently dementia patients have sundowning, and it's like where they get like really cranky and like crotchety. It's kind of predictable. But he mentioned the things: dogs, kids, ice cream. That's what you bring in as the stimulus to regulate that. And I was just like, Joe Biden, dogs, kids, and ice cream. They're like, surround this man with dogs, children, and ice cream. One of the three at all times. All three if we can get it. Maybe like a kid riding a dog, licking an ice cream cone. And that dog goes and sits on Joe's lap. That's the ultimate.
Right. But yeah. I mean, again, that just shows how low the standard has been. It's like, we don't need a president that can actually do something. We just need him to sit there, get him a dog, get him a child, get him a dessert, and we're fine. Like,
do you ever think about this? Like, I don't keep up with foreign politics a ton outside of what concerns me as an American. But do you think it's just like this in other countries? Because when I've met soldiers from other militaries, I realize like everyone's like, yes, our military is powerful. Don't get me wrong. Our military is powerful, but it's not like you would think it would be. Like I thought it was going to be all these Captain America, you know, patriotic blood, sweat, and tears guys and gals. And then I got in the military and I'm like, oh no, it's just me and like two other people.
Uh-huh.
Most people are like, it's a job. You don't need a degree. But then I started serving with other people from foreign military partners and realizing that their military was all ate up too. So
Yeah.
do you think that other governments are like this?
Um, well, I mean, I think there are other factors because I mean, ours is more of a voluntary service versus a lot of other governments. Their military are made up of people that they almost forced to be a part of it. As far as like
Yeah.
their leaders, I mean, I know that we've had there have been questions about Putin's mental health. The guy is a psychopath and apparently a really big germaphobe and won't like let anybody near him. I know, wasn't there something with one of the leaders of, was it North Korea a couple of years ago where they thought he died and like nobody saw him for
Yeah.
several,
Yeah, he was
several,
missing for like 20 something days.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they get the people in power that are going to be the most beneficial and they prop them up in any way possible. Um, I don't know.
Wasn't there just a CEO who was missing? Like an American CEO was like missing for like 10 days. This doesn't have to do with anything, but
Maybe, which is
yeah.
surprising.
There's
But I
just
mean,
always random crap going on.
I know. I know. But I mean, as far as people's like dedication to their country and like what they're, whether or not they're there being truly patriotic to the cause, I don't know. I don't know. I would like to think that they're there and putting their whole heart into it, but I think that that's becoming less and less the case. I don't know.
So this next topic, like, I don't even know what you want to say about it. The more I learn about it, just the angrier I get. Um,
When it comes
but
to the Maui fires,
yeah,
um, I came across a couple of these stories, and I don't know that because we've got a video of Peter Ducey versus KJP, which is always my favorite. Um,
yeah,
that was some of the best interactions. And then I saw this story about people who disobeyed the orders while they were evacuating from Maui, and potentially those are the people that survived. Um, so I just thought it was really interesting. The whole situation is bizarre. There's so much to it where it's like so much of it seems like it could have been prevented, and there were so many failures that seemed to lead to an unnecessary number of people dying. And this
yep,
seems to be a theme because, what happened with COVID? I mean, I think there were a lot of policies put in place, like not being able to use the treatments that were available, not being able to even talk about anything that wasn't the vaccine, not being able to talk about doing anything but wearing masks and staying home, and not being able to talk about people, addressing their own health and considering what if they were a part of the group that might die because they had a comorbidity, like all of these things that we weren't allowed to have a discussion about. And, we've seen so many situations where we're ignoring the things that are actually going to help people. And we have a government or we have people in charge that seem to be intentionally putting things in place to make things a lot more challenging. So
yep,
the whole situation is very angering. But I liked this story. I don't know if I liked the story, I should say, but it talks about this family that they were trying to evacuate from the fires. And I'm just going to read a couple of these little paragraphs. It says, on August 8th before 4 p.m., Hawaiian Electric informed Maui residents about extended power outages as more than 30 power poles snapped in high winds. At the same time, fire officials shut the Lahaina bypass road because of the blazes, blocking the only route out of Lahaina to the south. When resident Nate Baird tried to drive his family out of town on that day, he found that his path was being blocked by traffic cones and crews working on the downed electric poles. The crews were stationed to turn people back toward Lahaina. Instead of complying, Mr. Baird swerved his car past the cones and headed south to safety. Nobody realized how little time he really had, he said. Like, even us being from the heart of the fire, we did not comprehend. Like, we literally had minutes, and one wrong turn, we would all be dead right now. And then it says one family ditched the standstill traffic and turned their car onto a dirt road, driving all the way to Napili to escape the fire. And I just, I thought this was interesting because I'm like, maybe that's what we need to do from now on. Whatever the government is telling us to do the opposite. You know?
Honestly, I've watched a ton of these videos. I've looked at maybe 10 articles. Tim Pool's had guests talking about it like 3 or 4 nights at least. Absolutely. At this point, I mean, with the Uvalde stuff, a lot of these mass casualty type events, a lot of natural disasters, obviously COVID. If ever there's a time to give 2 big middle fingers to the government, it's when they are telling you to sit tight and die. I mean, this is like so much worse than COVID. The line that killed me, the line that freaking killed me, it's not in this article, is where the mayor, in support of these roadblocks, because of power lines may kill you. Fire's going to kill you, period. A fire moving 80 knots, however many miles an hour that is, like, you are done. 0%. I mean, look at these flipping, I just had the pictures up. Look at these cars.
Yep.
Look at this side by side. All of these buildings burned down to the foundation. Like, there is nothing left. This idiot says, the mayor says, we want stay-at-home order, we want to lock people down, we want to put up these roadblocks because if they come outside, they might go the wrong way and into the fire. Which is total bullcrap, because do I have that image? Oh, come on. What did I do with it? I don't have it. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, this is a thing that went on day and night. So, obviously, nighttime, like, at nighttime, there's a pretty easy way to see that this is where the fire is, the blazing inferno. You can see it. This is where the fire is not. But even in the daytime, like, no freaking way. They should have. Hawaiians generally don't have guns, but I'm telling you right now, if something like that is going on and there's anyone, HOA, president of a company, police, whatever, thinks that they're going to stand in the way, they got another thing coming. This is crazy. Guys, stop listening to the government when they are telling you to do stuff that they have no authority to do. Because they told these people to go sit in your home and die. Or sit in your car and die.
And people did it. And it's not that I blame them, because I think a lot of people think, well, I mean, it's interesting because I think it just shows how much, we've been programmed, to just accept things that just don't make any sense. But even if they're saying turn around and drive back into the fire, like, your brain isn't going to think they're going to send me back to my death. So perhaps some people thought that it was being handled and contained in some way behind them. I don't know what the logic would be, but I can't imagine sitting there with my kids in the car with me and looking at the road out away from the fire and being told to turn around and drive back straight toward it. I'd be like, no.
You want to hear a fresh conspiracy, a Joe Mobley original?
Always.
This is what I believe is going on here. What I won't say anything about the origins of the fire. This is obviously a terrible fire, but I have been involved and with my career and just my area of expertise, emergency response planning, and in theory and in practice, responding to some of the worst tragedies that can happen. I got a lot of them under my belt. So there are plans for this stuff. There are plans for like the craziest things, like Leslie Knope Parks and Rec type binder plans. So you almost, if you wanted to test something out, you almost just have to wait for where it's going to happen naturally. You don't have to pull a COVID. You don't have to release something into the wild if that happened. But as you know, as these different groups will say, the people doing, as these different powers and influence who are putting messages out into the world to get the world to bend to their will, they kind of need to check in on that from time to time, just like we do with our kids. We're training up our kids in the way they should go. And every once in a while, instead of telling them what to do, we just let them kind of sit in the wild at the restaurant or in the library, wherever, to see what they'll do. And then their response informs where we're doing a good job, where we need to pay more attention, what we need to lean into. And as we've been living through some pretty big government psyops the last, we'll just say it started on, say, September 10th, 2001, for whatever reason. As we're living through these psyops, these powers, they have to check in and see, will they listen to us? What if we just told them to wear, you're hearing this again, there are going to be lockdowns coming, you're going to have to wear a mask, you're going to have to get 5 more boosters. Will they do it? This is one of those things. Will they see with their eyes that there is a fire on their butt and let us tell them not to go in the direction of safety, but to turn around and go back? And a ton of people did. Almost everyone was like, okay. The guy with the badge said, go do this. The guy on the phone, the governor, said, go do that.
Yep. Yeah. And you know what? I don't think that conspiracy theory is too far off from the truth. And I think that they're testing that compliance again by just testing the waters with mask mandates and vaccine mandates again. You know, they're seeing, okay, how much of an impact did we make this time? But I think, this should be just an eye opener to everyone. And this could be why they don't want to, once again, they don't want to talk about it. Just one more disaster they want to ignore. But it's like, your government officials will literally send you into a blazing inferno and not even think twice about it. They're not losing any sleep over this. They're not even talking about it.
Yep.
I think that should be, just send a clear message to anyone. And I definitely think there's something to be said for whatever the government lays out for you. Just turn around, just do completely the opposite, and you're going to be better off.
Can we watch this video? It's one of the more lighthearted ones.
Sure.
But I just thought it was interesting.
Oh my gosh, look at the harbor. Oh my gosh.
Got home about 4 o'clock yesterday from work. Smoke in town. My son and his girlfriend and 2 kids were at the house, and we evacuated immediately. No cell phone coverage, no internet, no way to contact the outside world. And we got to this side of the island about midnight last night with my wife and dog, and slept in the parking lot at Whole Foods. Woke up this morning and got on our phones to pictures of our house just down to the slab. Nothing but smoke. Cinders. Came with the clothes we got on and a dog and 2 kids. Here we are.
If you go and read the article of that guy, he was one of the people that they said turn around, and he said F no, and he drove around the little blockade. You shouldn't have to do this. It's on Reuters has the story. You shouldn't have to do this. But there is a time to tell the government to shove it.
Yep, absolutely. I did talk about this in a video recently, but I and I've mentioned before in other posts, but the only place in Hawaii I've ever been to is Lahaina. I've been to Maui. That's the only area of Hawaii I've been there one time, and there literally is one major highway in and out of the town. It's not like if you turn around and go back down in into the town that you're going to be able to find another exit. So to have the main highway blocked when these people had to know that the water supply was limited. They had to know exactly how many personnel they had available to contain this thing. I mean, these were, the police and the fire department. So they had to have that information. And I think that's what makes it that much more sinister, is the fact that they had that information, knowing that this thing was not under control, that they had very limited ability to stop it, that it wasn't going to be able to be stopped, and they still turned people around. Their focus should have been on that road, if there were down power lines, to make that road as safe as possible with all of the resources, like throw all of the resources at that road so you can get people out of there. That should have been their focus. Just like with COVID, you should have focused on all the people that were the most vulnerable. Instead, you made us all sit and burn. So,
Now, wait a minute. Are you suggesting that when the emergency response planners think about a crisis and beforehand, they're supposed to think what would be the most catastrophic thing that could happen and mitigate those risks? That's wild. Like, there's only one road in and out of here. Like, this is definitely top 5 priorities.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting that didn't happen. I mean, you would think that there would be people like a town planner, an emergency response coordinator, and like the top 5 brass of all those little agencies. You would think.
You would think. And even then, the people standing there, they're saying, I'm just following orders. And it's like, screw your orders. Like, where is your soul as a human being, regardless of what all these other people are telling you? I'd be like, no, I am not sending those people back. So,
yep.
It's
wild.
dark.
And all that they're doing about this day after day is lying. They're not releasing any information. FEMA's not saying anything. The police aren't saying anything. Fire's not saying anything. Yeah.
Well, that is we have to play the Peter Ducey versus KJP, because speaking of lying.
And it seems like the hurricane response so far is robust. Did you guys realize that the initial Hawaii wildfire response was not that good? Or is it just easier for people to get help from the White House when the president is not on vacation?
So the premise of your question and the way you posed your question, I disagree, just for the record. So if you were to do your reporting and speak to the governor of Hawaii, the senators of Hawaii, the folks on the ground, they would say that the president reacted in record time when it came to dealing with the wildfires, when it came to dealing and making sure that they got everything that they need on the federal level to deal with what was going on the ground. Let's not forget there were more than 600 federal employees on the ground already to assist with the wildfires in Maui. So your question is wrong, it's flawed in many, many ways, and I would advise you to go speak to the governor and the local and state officials in Hawaii.
You know what?
And it's
it's bad enough when someone is condescending to you, when you feel like you're at least having kind of an intelligent conversation. But when someone is literally the dumbest human being on the planet and they're condescending to you, it's like that much worse. Not only that, like, once again, it's what the left does. She's projecting. She's saying, go talk to the governor, go talk to the people that were involved, go talk to the people that were in charge. It's like she's projecting by saying that to Peter Ducey, knowing that that's exactly what she needs to do, because she hasn't talked to any of these people. I'm sure she hasn't talked to them, but I'm also sure that she's probably aware of how bad this thing failed and how badly these people did their jobs, or, actually did do their jobs at all. But it just, she makes me so angry. Like, for an idiot, like, I usually don't let stupid people bother me, but she just makes me so mad. Like,
Normally I'd let this go, but
exactly. Like, stupid people are not worth the time of day, but she's the White House press secretary. So sometimes I'm just like, how did we get this person in there? But, I loved Peter Ducey's question. Like, is it just, he's on vacation. What do you want us to do? But she talks about,
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
She does this all the time and it drives me crazy. She's talking about your question not being valid and blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about not being valid. You represent the president of the United States. You do. He has empowered you. He says, you take my agenda and represent it to the American people through this medium. So out there representing the president of the United States, supposedly the most powerful and influential person in the world, and your answer is, don't ask us. Go talk to a governor or some senators. No, F that. I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Talk to the federal employees of administrative agencies. Whose administration? Your administration. They all work for you. I'm at the top of the food chain and you're telling me go 10 rungs down and talk to that person. That person should say, we did what Biden said. Go talk to him. Well, now we've got a real fun game because I went and talked to his representative and she said to talk to you and you're saying to talk to her. And I'm pretty sure when I get back there, they're going to say, go talk to someone else. No, you were it. The accountability, there's no one above you.
Yeah. Well,
and she always does this.
Well, and she does this thing because she never has an answer. So she spends, I think, the vast majority of her answers talking about how the reporters need to go talk to everybody else. Or, half of the responses, well, if you've talked to this person, then you should know. And if you've talked to this person, you should know. And then the other half is like, well, I've said this repeatedly, and this person has said this repeatedly. And by the time she actually gets to the question, like, most of us have forgotten what the question even was because she's just completely deflected the entire thing. But, she said that Biden responded in record time. It was what, like 2 weeks?
We are a community.
Yeah, that's him responding in record time.
Yep, falling asleep.
Goodness freaking gracious.
Yeah. And I just want to throw this out. Go ahead.
I want to see these records. I want to see these records.
Yeah. And I just want to throw this out there. And this is not me saying that the people of Hawaii deserve this because they didn't. But like 65% of Hawaii voted for Joe Biden. So I'm not saying that, you deserve what you get, but at the same time, maybe people need to think about when we're like, hey, this guy is a terrible leader. He is a horrible person. He is evil. He doesn't give a crap about anybody else. And literally everything that he says is a total lie. Maybe we need to start listening because he is exactly who we said he was. And then people now, now their entire community is burned down. They're like, where's our president? Why isn't he here with us? Why doesn't he care? And it's like, because we told you he does not care. And he's trying to be like this, middle-class Joe and the guy that relates to everybody and this family guy. And it was completely a lie. So
look, Samantha's being nice.
Yeah.
You do deserve what you vote for. You voted for this, and these are the fruits of your labors. That, you're the victors. These are your spoils. Have at it. This is exactly what happened. You guys know I'm a big fan of the Old Testament. This is exactly what God did when the stupid Israelites were like, oh, we want a king. We want a king. He's like, you could just serve a righteous God, but if you want a king, we could get that going. We could give you kings and judges, and you could live under the rule of the little government of man that you so desperately crave. And big surprise, they had a righteous, just king, and about 5 minutes after he died, they had a bunch of douchebags rule over them for generations and generations. And surprise, we still do. And it's going on and on and on and on. So, we had a good thing going, went down in the garden, got the boot, all of that stuff. But now we keep asking for stupidity. You're not oppressed. Well, this isn't China. This isn't, North Korea. We voted for this institution to be over us.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think when I say they didn't deserve it, I mean that they didn't deserve their community to be set on fire and burned down.
yeah. I'm sorry that we're laughing, but yes, I agree. They didn't deserve to have their community.
Yeah. But I'm like, you guys really can't be surprised that Joe Biden is literally putting every other country before us and giving them all of our resources and all of our money and ignoring people in our own country that need help. And, and they're expecting him to show up and actually care about these things. It's like, we told you this was going to happen. Turns out there are some things that are worse than mean tweets. Who knew?
That's a great point. How long does it take to get $1 billion authorization from DC to Ukraine?
Yeah.
Speed of freaking technology. Maybe 24 hours. I don't know. The bank's got to clear the check or something. Yeah. But it takes days and weeks to get aid, not to a foreign country, to the actual United States, from the U.S. to the U.S.
Yeah, for people that have gone through the public education system, so probably don't know this, Hawaii is actually part of the United States of America. So
yeah, this isn't like Guam or Puerto Rico. This is a state.
Yes. So, they got their 700 checks, and even then people are having to jump through hoops. They're having to prove to FEMA that they actually need help. They're, struggling to find housing. And again, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, this is who Joe Biden is. This is who he has always been. And whether he survives for the next term or they put somebody else in, like, this is exactly what they plan on doing for America forever.
I will tell you guys right now, even though I don't think he's going to jail, but I will be voting for Donald Trump, even if he's in a jail cell. I can tell you that right now. I'll go get my MAGA hat on, put it on for you guys. You vote for whoever you want to vote for. Well, and honestly, like, I don't understand how anybody would be able to dispute that or like hold that against you. I mean, I will vote for whoever ends up as the nominee on the Republican side. If it's Trump, I don't care if he's in a jail cell. He is getting my vote. But the bar has been set so low by the Democrats. It's like, you guys have a stroke victim. You guys have an elderly man who skips children and eats ice cream. Like, you can't come at me for voting for a guy that he's in a jail cell. Yeah. I don't think they're going to run any of the other people that we've been floated. Michelle Obama, Gavin Newsom. Gavin is he's too normal and healthy for them to put him up as a candidate. He doesn't have weird quirks and like a wife that wears ugly outfits. He doesn't have a speech impediment or, I'm just like, he's too normal. They always have to run someone crazy. Like Bernie Sanders is crazy. He's like Doc from Back to the Future, just kind of.
But they also have to have somebody that they can control. They only. I don't even know if Kamala is that good of a puppet. Like, she's dumb.
No, she's that good of a puppet.
Huh?
She is. They probably have a bunch of like sex tapes and stuff on her.
It's true. I think she's the only one. I mean, Bernie, he's crazy, but he is still determined to do things his way. And I think Gavin Newsom, in a lot of ways, is the same way. He's not a puppet though, so I think he would go along with a lot of the things that they want, but he still has too much of a mind of his own. So I don't know.
Well, it's no secret that the Dems love increasing the crime rate. And Gavin Newsom is undefeated in that arena. He's the GOAT of rising crime. He's like the anti-police chief.
I don't know. I was listening to somebody was talking about the mayor of Chicago today.
Oh, the new one or
yeah, the new one,
Lightfoot?
something.
Yeah, you're right. They're pretty good too.
Yeah. I mean, you guys had Lori Lightfoot. You had Lori Lightfoot, and you had the opportunity to get somebody better in there, and you picked somebody worse. And Chicago is out of control. And I mean, we talked about how defunding the police was a really bad idea, especially for a place like Chicago. And they're like, no, like, we believe it when they say that police are racist. We believe that, what are they called? The counselors.
They have weird ones. They're called some word.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
Man, what are they called?
I know, you're supposed to help me now. The counselors or whatever, they thought that having these people just to go in and talk people out of committing crimes was going to be a good idea. And we're sitting here going, we know exactly what's going to happen here. Like the
aldermen. They have aldermen. I'm sorry, alderpersons now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so now Brandon, whatever his name is, let's go Brandon. I think his name is Brandon. I don't know. They're trying to pump money back into Chicago to increase the police budget and bring officers back in because, shockingly, crime is completely out of control. They've had so many shootings there. It's out of control even for Chicago. And it's like, you guys can try and put all the money back in that you want to, but the fact that you've spent the last few years telling police officers how horrible they are and that you plan on pretty much blaming them for everything that goes wrong, you're not going to be able to fix this problem. So
I love how they vote for this guy while he's running. They ask, like, he's just straight up. This is probably the most Trump-like, baller-like thing this guy's done. They ask him straight up, like, crime is bad. What are you going to do? And he said nothing. He said, there's always been shootings. There's always been crime. There's always been these drive-bys. It's always been that way, and it's always going to be that way in Chicago. And I'm just like, dude, you're running for office. He's like, no. Yeah, gun violence, there's nothing we can do. So you guys just need to expect it and vote for me, and I'll do nothing about it. And they did. They voted for him.
Yep, exactly. So again, you guys can't really be surprised that you have to live with the consequences of these things. But I just wanted to say, like, I think that he's kind of in competition with Gavin Newsom for being like the governors of crime.
You're right. Chicago is the GOAT of crime. Yeah. You are right. Wow. I guess, they could have like an Olympics of who's the worst, Democrat official. Those two are in it. Lightfoot's in it. She's in, top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
you want to finish out on Sarah Gonzalez's video?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and I would love to get your opinion on this video. This kind of thing just actually makes me really hate social media, but I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah. It's this video of his mom talking, and she's like just playing music, but she's listing all of the things that she's doing between the hours of 5 and 6 p.m. And Sarah Gonzalez is like, you just made a video about everything you're doing. And then she pans the camera over to what her husband is doing. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on this whole situation, like how she's handling this problem, because she's clearly very angry at her husband.
Well, just from the comment, I've not seen this. This is going to be a real true hot take, but I agree already with Sarah's comment. Don't do this. Do not make passive aggressive videos crapping on your husband, just talk to him. Don't talk to your girlfriend. Don't talk to your mom or whoever. Just talk to the person. Matthew 18, folks. It's in the Bible. All right. Let's see what we got here.
She takes 27 common bread. Negotiate with a toddler. Said toddler. Proceed to cook with one hand. Ruin dinner. Consider running away. Laugh instead of cry.
Why are his feet blurred out?
I don't know. Oh, I think because they had put the blur over the child's face and it's just there. It says, I don't know. And then that's the end of it. So she posts this video where she sets up her camera to intentionally show everybody that she's doing all of these things and dealing with the struggles of trying to make dinner and holding a toddler, a crying toddler, and things get ruined. And then she pans over to her husband who's just sitting there on his phone. And it's like, I understand that's frustrating. I mean, if we're being honest, I feel like that scenario happens far more the other way around in my house because I'm like reading something on my phone and my husband's like, hello. But don't make a video and post it on social media. And you know, we don't know if she's had conversations with her spouse about it, but this kind of thing makes me hate social media. I think it is ruining people's relationships. It's ruining the respect that people should have for their spouses. Like, go sit down or go hand your husband the toddler and be like, hey, I'm making dinner. I need your help. But the last thing that you should be doing is posting a video depicting this idea that you're doing literally everything and your husband doesn't care. I should say your spouse, because you shouldn't be doing it either way.
So I'm gonna give this one. This is like next level marital advice. We'll give it away for free tonight. One, your social media handle is the Mama Brianna. Like, you're putting yourself out into the world and branding yourself like mothering. This is what I do. So shut up. Shut up. That, like, are you serious? Like, this, I'm glad that it played through to the end. Like, your account is identifying you as the nurturing, like the, anyway. So the Gottman Institute, what is his name? Oh gosh. What is his name? He's like a famous Christian psychologist. Anyway, he I'm going to put the link to this because, like, I'm going to put the link to this in the chat right now. If you are married, know someone who's married, like, this is pure gold. But this psychologist, he can sit down with people and with, what does he say? It's something, it's over 80%, might be over 90%. Accuracy. He can tell within minutes based on these 4 criteria if they're going to get a divorce, and within months, like a year, 5 years, 10 years, within months, like the year and the quarter of your divorce, he could nail it. And he calls these things the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse because any one of these elements will end your marriage. And not criticism, just criticizing your spouse, but he gets into all these things. This one, the one that we just witnessed live on freaking the internet for all to see, is contempt. This woman has a contemptuous attitude towards her husband. Doesn't matter if he's right or wrong. It doesn't matter if he's worked a 12-hour day shoveling poop, or if he works from home and plays video games to make money and his work is really easy. None of that stuff matters, but contempt it's one of, in my mind, it's one of the most insidious ones. Women in particular deal a lot in contempt and stonewalling. It's super painful, and a lot of women don't think that guys have emotions, but one of the worst things that you can do to a guy is remove access. Not intimate access, but remove access, like you're not a listening ear, I can't come and talk to you, you don't want to talk to me. That kind of stuff is devastating to most men. Most men are too macho to tell you that. But it's one of the things that hurts the most, and the research shows that. Anyway,
Yeah.
If this video was not a joke, this couple will be divorced. And they're in the contempt block, and I think that's like a less than 5-year block, if I remember. Watch this video. It's so good. It's not very long. It's 2 minutes long. And John Gottman, watch all of his videos. He does a talk. He does an hour-long talk that's free on YouTube, where he goes through the 4 horsemen of the marriage apocalypse and how they kill and destroy relationships. And it's so good. I watch it like once a year. Oh, it's so good.
Awesome. No, I love that. I love that you just had that handy and it went along with this little video.
Yeah,
But
we
I
did
just-
not plan this. That chick is nuts. Anyway, sorry. What did you think about
Yeah,
her?
no, I mean, I think I agreed with Sarah Gonzalez and what she posted on, the little caption above it. But, and it's hard because we all are only getting this 1-minute snapshot. But if you are the kind of person that would do something like this and you would intentionally portray yourself, because you know that the entire world is only going to get this like 5-second glimpse into your life, and you're going to take that time to make it seem like you're doing everything and your spouse is a useless piece of crap. Like, to me, that says a lot more about, the entirety of your relationship if that's how you want to portray it. So I just think it's a really crappy thing to do. And again, it just makes me like, this is the kind of thing where I'm like, okay, everybody needs to delete all social media forever, because this is just poison right here. This is just a terrible thing to do. Like, she's fully like, I understand her frustration. Like, I get it. We've all had those moments where we're like, we just feel like we're drowning, and perhaps our spouse in that moment is a little bit more detached than we would like them to be. But this is not a solution at all. This helps no one, and this solves nothing. And it just makes the situation just astronomically worse.
I just gotta know. I just gotta know what her content is like.
Oh, I was like, who's that?
I haven't been on TikTok in so long. Oh my gosh, I have over 100 notifications. How many followers am I up to? 42,000. Well, thank you, people, for following me on TikTok. I don't really use it anymore. I just gotta know. I gotta know what her content's like.
Right.
Mama Brie. So is it like a funny channel? My PR team, when I show them my next terrible husband video.
I don't know. I can't see it that well, but my PR team.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost hard to tell. Hard to tell if she's being funny or if she just has a lot of contemptuous videos.
Well, and here's the thing, because I'm hoping that I did give the disclaimer, like, we don't know what's going on in this person's life.
I wouldn't post that. I can tell you right now.
No, but this is the kind of thing that I see on social media all the time, and especially on things like TikTok. People use TikTok to dump all over the people that they're supposed to care about and that they're supposed to respect. And so this is not just like an isolated incident. So I saw this and I'm like, well, that's a really crappy thing to do to your husband. I mean, you suck, but you know, I'm hoping things are okay between the two, even though, again, I do stand by, like, if that's even one, like, you're willing to do that even one time, because that might be the only video that, like, millions of people see of your relationship, then, I mean, you're just willing to tell the entire world that your husband is like that, and they might not get any other context. But, like, this is just something that people do all the time. They put things out there, you know, they're just willing to do whatever they have to do to get likes and attention and make themselves a victim or whatever it is. And there's so little consideration for how it affects other people and how it affects particularly the people that they are supposed to love and respect. So that's my take on that.
I'm just like, it's just a scripture-filled night for me. Where is this? My 2 cents. For oh my goodness, for all of the people, like Proverbs 31, women this and that and the other, and just send me an email. We'll have a talk about it, because most of the stuff that I hear about it, it's not true. It's not like about how women cook and make freaking beds or whatever. Anyway, if you listen to Dave Ramsey, you've heard him recount Proverbs 31:10. Who can find a virtuous wife or a virtuous woman? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts in her. I memorized a different version, so forgive the mismatches here. So he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. In my view, my wife asks me if, like, so many things that she posts, she asks me if it's offensive to me. And I'm just like, no way. But she always asks because of this middle part. The heart of her husband safely trusts in her. And if you are going to not just be contemptuous towards your husband or your wife, but post that crap online and talk to your girlfriends, talk to your guy friends, talk to your colleagues, talk to, your in-laws, whomever about it, that's an insidious thing.
I agree. Amen.
Yeah. It's almost
right.
10. We railed.
It was a good night. We had a lot to talk about, but I appreciate everybody joining the conversation. There were some awesome comments, great conversation. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of other things to talk about next week. So I hope that everybody will come back next Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, 8:30 Eastern Time. And yeah, who knows what's going to happen between now and then, but we'll bring it up, whatever it is.
Bye.